Are you ready? Okay, let's start visualizing the merit field. Buddha is surrounded by all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, lineage lamas, and so forth. All their bodies made of light. And ourselves surrounded by all sentient beings, then really thinking that we're leading all living beings on the path to awakening by leading them to take refuge in the three jewels. And wouldn't it be wonderful if all the people who are so confused in the world, ourselves included, but even others who are more confused at this moment, you know, if Putin, if all the soldiers on both sides were able to take refuge in the three jewels, have some awareness of karma and its effects, some aspiration to cultivate impartial love and compassion, how wonderful that would be. And just thinking of your own family and your friends, if they have no spiritual interest, again, how wonderful it would be if they had that interest in cultivating generosity, ethical conduct, compassion, and so forth. How wonderful it would be if they wanted to subdue their own anger. And then when we recite the verses, we think that we're helping them to contact the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and to become interested in those spiritual issues so that they really want to transform their minds. And the same goes for us too. So since our motivation is the most important element of whatever actions we do, let's take the time and cultivate a good motivation for listening to teachings. So, of course, the best motivation is an expansive one, including working for the welfare of all living beings. But to grow there, we have to start small. So, of course, we start with ourselves. That's no problem, taking care of ourselves, wanting happiness for ourselves, abandoning negativities that we enjoy doing is a problem, but maybe we can get over that, work for our own benefit. So caring for the I is easy. We expand it to caring for mine, my family, my friends. That's not too difficult because we're fond of those people, we're attached to them. But after that, all the other sentient beings kind of get lost. They become amorphous, indistinguishable faces, except for those that we don't like. We see them very clearly. But if we're going to succeed in having a big motivation that encompasses all living beings, we have to stretch our mind and include more and more living beings, especially strangers, people in different countries, in different cities, in different universes, different life forms, and of course, including people we don't like or people we don't approve of. And so, placing our decisions in the context of what is best for all sentient beings, instead of what is best for me, and then after that, my family and friends, to expand it, what is better for more and more and more sentient beings as we expand our field of awareness that everybody wants happiness and not suffering. And then what can we do to help all these countless beings? We can help them in this life. We can help them learn the Dharma. And we can enhance our own wisdom, compassion, and skillful means so that we can really be of great benefit without being hindered from our own side by our own selfish, self-centered thought. And in that way, we aspire for full awakening for the benefit of all beings. So this idea of expanding who we include in our field of concern, it sounds great, doesn't it? Yeah. And we all want to have love and compassion for all living beings. But on a day-to-day matter, do we think of, well, what is best for the community of people I live with? Whether you live in a family or you live in a monastery or, your colleagues at work. When we make decisions, what's the center of the decision making? Yeah. Whose interest are we looking out for? Yep, this one. Okay, so lots of nice talk. Yeah, but we see how difficult it is to really enlarge the perspective of living beings that we care about. We talked about that a bit during our community meeting yesterday, and how, we don't want to vacuum one more square inch than everybody else does, or wash one more dish than anybody else does. Yeah. Or do anything that it entails what we consider suffering, any more than anybody else does. So in so many areas, benefiting others, we don't see as joyous. We see it as suffering. It's inconvenient. I have to go out of my way. Yeah, I have a plan of what I want to do and how I want to do it. And, really like taking other sentient beings into account. What a pain in the neck. Yeah, okay, the beings I love, the beings who benefit me, yeah, I'll stretch a little bit on that account. But no, making decisions according to what is beneficial for the family, or what is beneficial for the community, or what is beneficial for my country, or for the world, or for all living beings. No. Yeah, my contribution is taking care of myself, because, as they say, if I don't take care of myself, who's going to take care of me? Yeah, so that justifies it all, right? Yeah, we just take care of ourselves, and that's our contribution, so that other people don't have to bother about us. Except, of course, we're open to receiving their generosity and their kindness and anything else they want to do for us. We're not going to reject that. But we have boundaries. Yeah, I love that word. It became so popular in psychology. Boundaries. I don't think it was boundaries. I think it was concrete walls. Yeah. This is the boundary. You cannot go beyond this. Yeah. And I have boundaries. I cannot go beyond what I feel like doing when I feel like doing it. Do you have that boundary? I sure do. Yeah. Ask me at the wrong time to do something. Yeah. Ask me to help somebody out when I don't feel like it. Ask me to do anything, even something that benefits myself, when I don't feel like doing it. I'm not going to do it. So it's really hard to let go of that habit, isn't it? And it's not just a habit, it's a very ingrained prejudice. Okay, we are prejudiced towards ourselves. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Everybody is. All ordinary beings, anyway. Yeah? Yeah, we're all biased towards ourselves. And it's very difficult to stretch that. And so, in our hearts, we have real, sincere aspirations of what we would like to become. And then we have this concrete wall. Yeah, that is called grasping at the true existence of the self. Yeah, and the self-centered mind that kind of impedes us. So we need to put some energy into slowly disassembling that. Yeah. And to do that with a sense of joy, not a sense of obligation, and I have to, and if I don't, people are they won't like me, and they'll criticize me, and they'll tell me I'm a bad practitioner. So, I better kind of overcome this because I want to look like a good practitioner. Yeah, I want to have a good reputation as a good practitioner. Yeah, it's so difficult to get beyond that self-centered thought, isn't it? Yeah. So we just keep working at it. But I think really constantly meditating on the kindness of others. And, you can do this in a meditation session, sitting down, but you can do it when you're just walking around during the day too, and see how you interrelate with so many other living beings and how much kindness there actually is in your world. Yeah. We eat lunch every day. Do we think of the kindness of the people who are cooking lunch and washing the dishes before lunch and after lunch? Yeah. Do we think of their kindness, or do we just take it for granted? So if we make it a practice of seeing how interdependent we are, then it becomes so much easier to want to do something to benefit those beings. Yeah. Yeah. You receive benefit, then giving benefit is so much easier, isn't it? Like the people at McDonald's, somebody pays for you, then you want to pay for the guy behind you, and you keep doing that. So that comes easy. But we have to be the one who starts the chain instead of the one who waits for other people to do something for us so that before we can appreciate them, But to look and see, just in our daily lives, people are doing so much that benefits us. Okay, so we'll continue on with the chapter on joyous effort. And we've been talking about some of the things that interfere with our joyous effort that make us waste our precious human life, because, this life is very special, not just because we're a human being, but because we're somebody who has interest in the Dharma, who wants to pursue a spiritual path to improve themselves. So, having that kind of life where we have that aspiration and where we have access to all the cooperative conditions that enable us to follow that aspiration. We have enough to eat. We're not being conscripted into the army. We have access to teachers and Dharma books. And there's so many places in the world where people don't have access to this. I was told that, because we know some of our friends from Ukraine and Russia gathered together and practiced together, that one of the young Ukrainian men was really torn because, there's this push to join the military. He's supposed to stay there. The men aren't allowed to leave. And so there's this push to join the military. There's a wish to benefit his country, but he doesn't want to kill anybody. And so the being in that situation is so difficult, on an emotional level, making a decision what you're going to do. And then just living in a war zone where your attention has to go to just staying alive in one way or another and being prepared to die at any minute. Okay. So, living in a situation where we don't have that gives us so much freedom to practice. And so to appreciate that, and not find other reasons to distract ourselves in the middle of it. Okay, so we've been going through the innate compatible propensities that make us, waste our precious human life. So we've done 4 of them. I'll just review them. And then we'll continue on from there. So first one, being bound by one's worldly commitments. Okay, so the desire and the need to provide for others. So, needing wealth, needing a degree of pleasure, taking care of kids, your job, your family commitments, and, all your social commitments. Because one kind of thing comes with the next. Yeah. If you have a certain kind of job, then you need to have a certain kind of spouse and drive a certain kind of car, which means you need to make a certain amount of money, and you need to do certain things in your spare time, because it's all part of fitting the image of, that person that you're trying to be. Okay. So like that. And that just takes up a whole lot of time. Second one is having a bad character and lacking humanity. Yeah. So, just not caring beans about other living beings. Yeah. Just having the attitude of, what can others do for me? The third is lack of dissatisfaction with samsara. So we all have that. We talk about the disadvantages of samsara, of cyclic existence. Yeah. But how dissatisfied are we? If you can change the lunch menu and get the kind of stuff you want. Yeah. If you could get even more sweets than we have already, I am shocked by the amount of sugar and salt and fat we eat here. But if we could get more, okay, so, we're not dissatisfied with samsara. We just want to tweak it a bit. Absence of faith in the Dharma or in the Dharma teacher. Yeah. Oh, the Dharma. Buddha taught it 25 centuries ago. It's old fashioned. What does it have to do with me? Yeah. Why should I listen to all of this? It has to do with ancient Indian culture. Or, the Dharma teacher, what does this person know that I don't know? So, that kind of absence of faith. Okay, so we've done those 4. Then the 5th one, taking pleasure in bad actions, gambling, drinking, taking dope, going to the horse races, watching violent movies, watching sexy movies, doing things that are really going to incite our attachment and our anger. And we take pleasure in them. But especially, just let's start with the really gross ones, like the gambling and the drinking. Yeah. And so, people drink, people take recreational drugs. Anybody have a problem with that? Anybody an alcoholic? Anybody addicted to their pain pills? No, I just take them casually. It's what everybody does. I don't have an addiction problem. Yeah. So, how easily we indulge in things, but we totally deny that we have a problem with it. Yeah. I can stop any time I want to. Yes, I know I smoke 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes a day, but anytime I want to, I can stop like that, I know. Then why haven't you? If you know it's killing you. Okay? So, because we take pleasure in it. Yeah? And when we take pleasure in something, we may know it's not beneficial, but we somehow make the harm much smaller in our own mind. Yeah. And this is just a bad habit. I can stop it anytime I want. I don't really have a problem with it. Okay? And yet it brings a lot of problems in the life. Yeah, I've talked to many people who's in the family where a parent or a sibling has a gambling problem. And boy, it affects the whole family. Yeah, it affects the whole family and can be really dangerous for the financial stability of the family, which of course adversely impacts the kids. Yeah. But does anybody there have a problem with gambling? No. It's just recreation. We do it once in a while for fun. But no, there's no gambling addiction. Okay, same thing with drinking. Yeah, and so, you have one person who's an alcoholic who denies it, and then the rest of the family tries to cover up for that person. So then you not only have Alcoholics Anonymous, you have, what's the other one called? Al-Anon, yeah, where you're the supportive person. Yeah, you're in a relationship, and that person can't stop their alcohol use, but you help cover them up, because, yeah. And again, it just damages everybody. Okay, but so we get hooked in this kind of stuff, and then we don't really want to give it up. Somebody wrote to me recently regarding something that he does, that he sees is a problem in his practice, okay, and that is sexual fantasies. Yeah. And so he was saying, I don't really want to go off with some woman and do anything. I'm not really interested in that person. I don't want to go off and do anything. But in the evening, it's so nice to just kind of sit down. I have a very good imagination. And I relax when I do this kind of visualization. Yeah, it's a visualization. Yeah. And I do the visualization, and it's very pleasurable, and I relax doing it. And I have no desire to go out and actually do anything with anybody. Yeah. But it does interfere with my Dharma practice. And I've tried thinking about what the body really is, the foul aspects of the body. That helps for a while, and then it doesn't work anymore. And I think about the disadvantages of samsara. I'm aware of those, and that helps for a while, and then that antidote doesn't work anymore. And so what do I do? But it really is so pleasurable, and I need to relax. And what's really wrong with it? Because I'm not doing anything with anybody, so I'm not breaking any precepts. What do you think? Yeah, nothing wrong with it? Doesn't harm you at all? Doesn't interfere with your practice at all? No? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. But I just don't seem able to do anything with it. Stop it. What do you think the difficulty is here? Yeah. He doesn't really want to stop.
Doesn't see the disadvantages.
Yeah, he doesn't see the disadvantages, but he knows them intellectually, but he doesn't really want to stop. Yeah? You're hooked by the pleasure. Yeah. So he's asked all these other people what to do, and meditated on the body and disadvantages of samsara. And I'm the last holdout. What do I do? And I'm going to say, well, you don't really want to stop, do you? And he's going to go, yes, I do. Oh, you think I'm going to believe that? Okay. But those things are hard, aren't they? You know, we get a little bit of pleasure from it. And, you know, and then our mind can fabricate so many reasons why it's okay. You know? Okay. So, taking pleasure in bad actions. Okay. So, you know, what do we do in that case? I think we need to a couple of things. One is to really, how really is this interfering with my practice? And is it really bringing relaxation and any kind of pleasure in the end? You know, fantasies, you usually wind up at the end not feeling so good. You think it's great, you know, you satisfy the itch or whatever. But then after that, yeah. And then I think just having some courage to try and fight the habit. And know it at the beginning, it will be uncomfortable, but the more you keep on, the easier it will become. Mm-hmm. Anybody else have other ideas?
But another problem that comes to mind is that I would just always be wondering how his interactions are with people, you know, and if other people know that, you know, this is going on in the mind of another person, you know, where's the trust? Mm-hmm. But it's just sort of so unpleasant to think about that someone is spending their time rehearsing this kind of thing in their mind. And how are they with other people in any given moment? Yeah. You know?
Oh, they have no wish. They don't do anything. Yeah, it's not harmful. Don't touch anybody.
I would try to understand that this kind of mind is a habit mind, and that as whenever you get sick or ill, or even when you're dying, this mind is going to repeat itself. It's going to reappear. It's not something that you can say, well, I'm going to stop thinking about that as I'm dying. The mind's going to pull up the things that we're most habituated to thinking about. And these kind of things can go for, like, I've had parts of my life where I've gotten into this kind of mental habit of sexual fantasies. And it's hard to put them down because they get very complicated. They get very wild. They get very crazy. And before you know it, you've spent an hour in your bed at night thinking about this stuff. And you wake up in the morning totally fried. You know, also, there's a form of mental exhaustion that happens when you think like this, or any type of proliferating. But this one, I remember it exhausted me, and I could see that it would go on. It just kind of gets really complicated.
Yeah.
Similar to Venerable Semke, it's just seeing that the harm it brings to me is at the time of death, for sure. Like, if this comes up at the time of death, forget it, right? You're going to follow the same old habit. All the work you've put into cultivating merit and a Buddhist worldview, gone. You're going to be reborn in some unpredictable situation of whatever sexual fantasy you see arise. Could be two pigs, you know, like, good luck. So that gives me like, whoa, you are harming yourself when you rehearse this.
Some analysis, but I think it's also interesting to think about the other things that I've rehearsed that have come about. Like, you think, oh, I need a new car. I want that Subaru. You imagine that Subaru. You look at the Subaru. You think the Subaru, I can't really afford the Subaru, but sooner or later you get the Subaru. Or, you know, I want that job. You're not really working. I mean, that's how we get through life, is we fantasize these things, and then it comes to fruition. So if the person has the energy to actually investigate other kinds of fantasies that have come true, you can also see that sooner or later the right person's going to walk in the door, And bingo, he's been creating this all along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, in our Dharma practice, we do a lot of imaginative things. Why? For this same reason. If you imagine being in the Pure Land over and over and over again at the time of death, then easier for that to come with. If you imagine being of benefit to others, you imagine washing one more dish than everybody else and feeling happy doing it, then you'll be able to do that. Yeah. This is the whole idea. We start when we're little kids. Why do we play dress up as little kids? Because you imagine being, I was going to say a policeman or a fireman. I don't know if kids imagine being police nowadays. Maybe some do. But, when I was young, the cops were all good. So you want to be a policeman or a fireman, or you play with dolls, however boring it is, because you're supposed to be a mama afterwards. And, why as kids do we play? Yeah, because it helps us. If you can imagine it, then you can do it. I mean, athletes, dancers, everybody imagines doing that particular move. And then that gives you, it helps you to actually do it. And so we do that in our practice too. Yeah. Imagining Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, imagining, emanating, making emanations that benefit sentient beings and so on. Yeah. So to realize that the power of the imagination and it's be afraid of the power if we misuse it, and appreciate the power if we use it wisely.
Isn't the problem not so much that self-indulgent activity, but more the way attention is wasted and is used to reinforce a form of clinging rather than erode the habit of being self-centered and hooked?
Okay, so the person is saying kind of two alternatives. One is the habit of being self-centered and clinging, and the other is
Attention.
of wasting our attention. The two go together. Yeah. Why do we waste our time and our attention? Because we're clinging to something desirable and we're, out of self-centeredness. So I don't think you can, the two definitely go together. I hope I understood the question properly.
The part says, isn't the problem not so much that self-indulgent activity, but more the way the attention is wasted?
Yeah. But they go together. I don't think you can separate them. Yeah. I feel like wasting some time. What am I going to do? Fantasize. I'm fantasizing. What am I doing? Wasting time. Yeah. In any case, it boils down to being harmful to ourselves and others. It's interesting. The person who wrote me the letter said, I have this problem. It's not really so bad, but it's just disturbing my practice. Yeah. Okay, so that was number 5, taking pleasure in, actions that just, it says bad actions. In other words, actions that stir up attachment and anger. It's like, some people, it isn't sexual fantasies, it's violent fantasies. You play enough video games, and then what do you dream about at night? What are you thinking about? The video games. And, it's really shocking to me that you need to spend a lot of money doing a psychological research project to see if video games increase somebody's tendency towards anger and violence. It's like obvious. Yeah. But, yeah, so some people have, that's where their attention goes. This feeling of power that comes from, violently harming others or, maybe we don't want to violently harm others, but we want to give others a taste of their own medicine by embarrassing them or doing something else. And we fantasize about that too, don't we? Yeah. Kind of, this person hurt my feelings. I know exactly what to say to them to retaliate. Yeah. And we rehearse it in our mind. Don't we? Yeah. Okay. So to just, be aware of what, things we're implanting in our mind all the time. And, to notice when those things, we need to have, a lot of mindfulness and introspective awareness to notice those when they start happening and then immediately to change them instead of just say, well, it's not that bad and I'm not doing anything. And it just kind of relieves the tension and gives me some pleasure to stop that and just, okay, my mind's going off in some visualization or another that is not helping me. And so right away, change the intention, put the attention on something else. Yeah. Change it into, your deity practice, and you're sending out emanations to benefit sentient beings. But that's so boring. I sat 3 months in retreat emanating bodies to benefit sentient beings. What good did it do? Yeah. My fantasies were so much more exciting. Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, this is how deep the afflictions are. If we think afflictions are just superficial and easy to drop, this kind of shows they're very deeply rooted. Okay, then number 6, lack of interest in the Dharma. Okay, so you have a precious human life, you have all the external conditions, almost all of the internal conditions, but you're missing one, which is interest in the Dharma. It's like spiritual practice. That's for people with problems. Yeah, that's for people who can't handle their lives. They want to believe in something besides themselves that's going to save them. Okay, so, but I don't have that psychological problem, so I am not interested in spiritual things at all. It's a bunch of hocus pocus conspiracy theories. Yeah, and I'm going to use my energy to get a corner office and make a million. Actually, $1 million isn't very much these days. Make $1 billion. Yeah, I want to hang out with the oligarchs, not the Russian ones. I want the English-speaking ones. There's plenty of those. Our former president has a number of them I could get introduced to. Yeah, so I want to, make it big. Why not? What's harmful? What's harmful about doing that? Why should I be interested in spirituality? Why should I be interested in ethical conduct? Ethical conduct is for wimps. Yeah, they want to be nice people, so they're not going to steal or lie, and then other people just take advantage of them. I'm not going to let anybody take advantage of me. Yeah? So why should I be interested in the Dharma? So that's a really gross example. But then we're Dharma practitioners. Yeah, so I'm interested in the Dharma. But, I really worked so hard today washing all those dishes. I can't sit down and study about the foundation consciousness and the 4 kinds of latencies, or the 3 kinds of latencies. And what are these guys talking about anyway? I'm not really interested in that. I mean, I know everything's an illusion, doesn't exist anyway. So that's good enough. Yeah. I'm a nihilist disguised as a Buddhist. Okay. So, how do we remedy that? Well, we don't really have much interest. Maybe part of the problem is that we, we're not seeing the faults of samsara and so on. But it also could be that we need to focus on the parts of the teachings that really speak to our heart at any particular moment. Yeah. And if, refuting the Yogacaryas and the Svatantrikas isn't really speaking to your heart, you can do a little of that, but do the practices that really speak to your heart that you have interest in. Do the loving kindness practice. Do the death meditation. That one's always interesting. Yeah, you never get bored doing that one. Okay. There might be other kind of resistance to doing it, but it's not that meditation is boring. Okay. So, do some practice, but do something, that is nourishing to you at that particular moment. Okay, then the 7th is being heedless in your precepts. And the 8th is being heedless in your samayas, or your tantric commitments. So I'm going to put those 2 together because they both, have to do with being heedless, with not really caring about our ethical conduct. Now, we might say, well, precepts, samaya, I don't have those, so how can I be heedless of them? Okay. I haven't taken the 5 lay precepts, so, what's the problem with me doing all the 10 non-virtues? Yeah, it's only a problem if I've taken precepts not to do them. But I don't have precepts, then why not kill and steal and cheat and lie and do all of them? Yeah. Well, because it still creates, destructive karma. Yeah, it still puts those imprints in our mind. So it doesn't matter, really whether we have precepts and commitments. It's just, especially with those 10, then, it's just, we don't really care about ethical conduct. Yeah. Okay, so this thing of heedlessness, it brings up what's called the 4 doorways to engaging in destructive actions. And these are very, very helpful to remember. Yeah. So the first one is ignorance. And what it means here is ignorance of what is virtuous and what is non-virtuous. Okay? So whether, if you have precepts, you don't know what your precepts are. If you have tantra commitments, you don't know what they are. Yeah. And if you don't have those, you don't know what the 10 non-virtues are. Yeah. And so the antidote to just plain old not knowing, yeah, is to study the teachings and to learn, what is virtue, what is non-virtue, what are the 4 parts of an action that make that action complete? What are lesser negativities, because not all 4 are present? So the antidote is to really learn and study and listen to teachings. And then you begin to have some awareness of what to practice and what to abandon. Okay. So that's the first of the 4 doorways and how to remedy it. The second one is lack of respect for your precepts, or lack of respect for ethical conduct in general. Okay. And so this is just, like, why should I pay attention to that? Yeah. It's like, what's the big deal? What's going to happen if I do those actions? Yeah, I know it's not so good to do them, but what bad can really come from that? And I know at one point in my life, where I was really experimenting with doing all sorts of things my parents didn't allow me to do, that's very much the attitude I had. It's like, yeah, I know these things, aren't so honest and aren't so good, but that's the thing. But, if I can get away with it, why should I care? Anybody else have that attitude? Yeah. If I can get away with it, if yeah, I mean, the police aren't going to arrest me for this. And, as long as my parents don't know, I was more afraid of my parents than I was of the police, because I knew certain things. If mom and dad found out, oh my God, this was going to be hell. So, I was more afraid of that. But if I can hide it from mom and dad, then why not? Why not? Okay. So not much respect for ethical conduct or respect for precepts. Maybe you've taken precepts, but yeah, okay, but so what? Yeah. So what? Yes, I took them. Yes, it's nice to do. Yes, I'm trying to be virtuous, but, okay, it's that 3-letter word, but. Yeah, that 3-letter word has a lot of power in our mind. There's 2 3-letter words. Yes, but. Okay. But is one thing, but yes, but is you agree, but you don't care. Okay. So the remedy to that is to really consider, really think about what the effects of our actions are going to be. In the short term, in this life, the effect on ourselves and the effect on other people, but especially in the long term, what are the karmic effects of this action going to be? And so to really start thinking a lot about karma and not thinking about it as something intellectual, like what a nice little kind of formatting thing, but, but to really think about, how come I was born me? Have you ever wondered that? How come I was born me? How come I was born in the situation I was born in? Was it a total accident? Is it totally random? Yeah. Do I think everything in life is random? That there's no such thing as cause and effect? Well, yes, I believe in cause and effect. If you plant seeds, you grow sprouts. If my kids go to school, they'll get a good job. But somehow, when it comes to thinking about our own actions, cause and effect goes out the window, and it goes back to, I don't care. It's not important. So like I said, to really spend some time thinking about karma and how, look at your life and the advantages you have and the disadvantages you have, the good things in your life, the things that aren't so good in your life, and trace them back to the kind of actions that you must have done either earlier in this life or in previous lives. And that way you really get a feeling for karma that, yes, there is cause and effect on an ethical plane. It isn't just biological, chemical, physical, psychological cause and effect. There's also ethical cause and effect. And so it's something that I need to pay attention to. Okay, so that helps activate our respect for the precepts. Also, if you stay near your spiritual mentor, if you stay, in a Dharma community, if you stay with the Sangha, then being around other people who also have that value, it helps you have that value as well. Because you watch other people and the decisions they make, and if they have if they have respect for ethical conduct, and they make their decisions according to that, then it becomes very easy to follow suit. We are so much influenced by the people around us. Whereas if we hang out with people who don't care much about it, about ethical conduct, then that same way of thinking comes into us. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter as long as I don't get caught. And then we keep doing what that group of people does. So to really put ourselves, to make friends with the people that we want to be like. So those of you who listened to the talk I gave a couple of nights ago at NIC, when one of the students asked, what kind of advice do you have for making a difference in the world. And one of the points I mentioned was think about the kind of person you want to be, and so the kind of friends you want to have. Because my mother always said, birds of a feather flock together. So you hang out with the people that you want to be like. And so choose those people well. It's interesting, how much do we really choose our friends and how much do we just fall into relationships? And how much do we really look and say, oh, if I hang out with that kind of person, I'm going to become like them. And how much, and be aware of that. And how much is it? Well, that person is, they're funny and they're amusing and they praise me. That's the big thing. All you need to do is praise me and I am your friend forever. Okay. Flatter me. I am a sucker for flattery. Do that. I don't care anything else about you. I will love you forever. Anybody here like that? That's how we get into dysfunctional relationships. As we fall for what pleases our ego instead of really thinking, what kind of person do I want to be like, and what kind of person is going to, also has those same goals and principles and values. And choosing our friends like that. Okay, so that's another antidote to lack of respect for ethical conduct. The third door to, the lack of caring about, the third door to downfalls, it is, in our ethical behavior, is carelessness. Okay, so we know that what the precepts are. We know the difference between virtue and non-virtue. Yeah. We kind of respect it. Yes, at least by our mouth we respect it. But, you hear the three-letter word? But I just get distracted, I know what I should focus on, but I get distracted. My mind wanders away. Yeah. And I just get careless. I know what I should do, but I forget. Yeah. Why do we forget? Yeah. Well, it could be by the power of clinging and craving. We forget. Or it could be that we just, it's not a priority in our life. Yeah. We don't have introspective awareness that is monitoring our body, speech, and mind. Okay? And so we just get careless because we're not really paying attention. So this is the kind of thing, an experience I have often of, I'll be in the middle of saying something and one part of my mind will go, shut up, Chodron. You don't want to be saying this. It is not helpful. It is not virtuous. Be quiet. And then what do? I say it anyway. Yeah. So because the introspective awareness, it was kind of late on arrival. Yeah. It's like, it came, but it came a little bit too late. Yeah. So I was just careless in the meantime. Or the introspective awareness came, but I dismissed it. It's like, yeah, I know, but I'm going to do this anyway. Okay. Or I know, but I'm halfway through saying this. I can't just stop in the middle of the sentence. I've got to finish this awful thing that I'm saying to somebody. Yeah. Or you're in the middle of your arm is halfway to their face and you say, I really shouldn't be slugging them. But anyway, it's halfway there. I can't stop now. Boom. Okay. So here, what the antidote is to strengthen our mindfulness of what we know we need to do, the mindfulness of our precepts, the mindfulness of what virtue is, and to strengthen our introspective awareness, which is the mind that monitors what am I saying, what am I feeling, what am I thinking, what am I doing. Okay. Now, introspective awareness is very important here to have the right idea of what it is. It's one very compassionate aspect of your mind that is aware of the difference between non-virtue and virtue and wants to take care of yourself so it monitors what you're saying, thinking, feeling, doing. Okay? Do not confuse this with the mind that says, okay, I've got to get my mind in control. I've got to stop these actions immediately. I've got to stop my non-virtue immediately. My body, speech, and mind are uncontrolled, and I've got to get them under control. Okay. Mind is fantasizing. Bad mind. Stop that. Cut it out. You're going to hell. Mouth. You're saying things you shouldn't say. Just shut up. Get the not masking tape. That isn't strong enough. Duct tape. Get the duct tape. Shut up. Otherwise, you're going to be born as a chattering monkey. And you don't want to be born as a chattering monkey. So get yourself together, mouth, and just shut up. And similar with the body. Okay? That is not introspective awareness. Okay? That is the mind that is going to boomerang against you and make you just quit the whole endeavor, because you're acting as some kind of authoritarian dictator with yourself, and there's no gentleness and no compassion and no understanding that, yes, it takes time to do this. I'm going to change. I'm taking the first step. Congratulations. Taking the first step. You'll be able to take the second step soon, But instead of having that kind of attitude, where we're kind to ourselves and we still steer ourselves in the right direction, we become a dictator. Okay? And that is not at all helpful. Yeah. If you've done that, you have surely experienced the result of being a dictator to your own mind. Yeah. And it doesn't work, does it? Yeah. Because we're miserable. Yeah. Then we go from dictator to free love. Isn't it? It's like, yes, I'm not going to be a dictator anymore. I'm going to stop that. So anything goes. I'm going to be spontaneous. I feel like doing this, saying this. I'm not going to be a dictator with my mind anymore. It's all coming out, spontaneity. Okay? And we go to that extreme for a while. Okay? So it's, the middle way is not you take these two and average them together. And so you have half a day of dictatorship and half a day of free love. Okay? Yeah. The middle way is not the midpoint between these. It's something completely different than these two. Okay? Those two are extremes, yes, but the middle way is something that is neither of those. It's not the average between them. Okay, so that's how to deal with carelessness, the third one. And then the fourth one is strong afflictions. So, if we're ignorant and we don't know virtue from non-virtue, if we don't respect it, even we know. If we're careless, even if we have some knowledge and some respect, even if we have the knowledge, we have some respect, we're working on getting over the carelessness. So we really care about acting properly. But the afflictions come on strongly, and there we go, we're lost. We're drowning. Yeah? It happens to all of us, doesn't it? Yeah? And you're so firm, I am not going to do that again. Okay, I am not going to overeat chocolate chip cookies again, even though there's a container full of them in my cupboard. I'm just going to have one. I'm just going to have one drink. Yeah, one bite of the ice cream, one chocolate chip cookie, one puff of the dope, one pain pill, one, yeah. And then, yeah, the affliction just takes over our mind, totally takes over our mind. Yeah. And we just merrily go on our way. And then after we have indulged with either attachment or we've indulged with our anger, yeah, and this often comes with the rationalizations. Well, rationalizations can come in any of these 4 steps, but when we haven't caught the afflictions when it's small, yeah, the rationalizations come in. Just a little bit of anger. Anyway, we've been having relationship problems for a while, and it's really good to get it out. I've been stuffing my unhappiness for a long time. So, even though you just yelled at your partner a few days ago, but I've been, stuffing it for a long time. And, we have these problems. So you don't even have enough time to rationalize it. There's a little bit of rationalization, and then your anger just explodes because it's overpowered our antidotes. Or you're trying to, you can see the anger coming, the anger's small. Yes, it's just a little bit of anger. We can still have a very good discussion with a little bit of anger, because anger, all those people, at the university who are doing mediation studies, they told me that anger is good. It lets me know something's wrong. Yeah, so I know something's wrong, and I'm a little bit angry about it, but not too bad. And I think it's good I bring that to the forefront. And yeah, it's very good, in fact. And those people really need to know. I mean, if nobody tells them this, then they're really going to get in big trouble. So out of great compassion, I've become a Buddhist, so I have compassion for everybody. So out of great compassion for all these people who are out of control and are not acting non-virtuously, I'm going to give it to them so they stop doing this. Okay? Yeah, and then we explode. Yeah, either verbally or we explode, the other way. You can explode outward and your anger fills the whole environment. But there's another way of the anger filling the environment. You explode inward. Yeah, because you're supposed to be a nice person and not yell and scream at other people. Yeah, especially women, right? It's like we're not supposed to say anything. We're supposed to be nice little ladies. So we just stuff it. We go in the other room, slam the door, freeze them out. Yeah, have you ever been in an environment like that? In your family? Was somebody like that? Yeah? You knew when one parent was mad because it got really cold around. And you knew you better shut up and not say anything because otherwise glass in its liquid state is hard, right? And when the glass cracks, that's when it goes into solid state, isn't it? Something like that. And anyway, yeah. It's something with glass. Okay, I don't know, and liquid and hard, and I don't know what it is. But anyway, it's so cold that if you say something, the glass is going to crack and you're going to get it. Okay. Yeah. So we just freeze somebody else out. But I'm not creating any non-virtue because I am not yelling and screaming and throwing things. Okay? But the problem is the affliction's gotten very strong and it's completely taken us over, and we can't communicate properly. So whether we explode or implode, the ability to communicate is impaired. Yeah? And we usually, wind up doing something that we regret later on. And sometimes we go from being, really frozen. Yeah, you're frozen, and then the person you're mad at comes and says, you seem really unhappy. Nothing's wrong. Are you mad at me? No. But something seems to be wrong. Can we talk about it? Okay, you really want to hear this and 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 this. Okay. Okay. So, yeah, the strength of afflictions so that we're overpowered. Okay, so here the antidote is to try and do our best to catch the afflictions when they're small. Yeah, and to catch them and to remember the antidotes. And this is the hard part, because we know the antidotes, but we also know all of our justifications, rationalizations, way of suppressing it and repressing it and doing all these other kinds of things. Yeah? So the thing is to recognize it's starting from small, to see its damage, and then before the rationalization comes in and the justification, to apply the antidote and to stick with the antidote. Okay. And that takes practice. It's, it's like learning to hit a baseball. That's not a good example because I never mastered that one. It should be something that's hard. When we were kids and we were learning to walk, yeah, it was hard at first and we kept falling down, but we mastered it. So the same thing, these things come up. We apply the antidote, and then the rationalization comes in, and we kind of lose that round. But we did try. The antidote did get there, a little bit, not strong enough. But then you practice it more in your meditation, and then next time the situation comes up, you again try and apply it and cut the justifications. Okay, so it's a slow process. I think one of our difficulties is when we know an antidote intellectually, we expect it to work immediately, and so we have this habit, and it's not just a habit, it's a problem, but it's a habitual, affliction that's quite deep. And we expect that by just thinking about the antidote one time intellectually, that it's going to overcome the whole thing that we've been very habituated with since beginningless time. So we need to be able to stick with it and be patient with ourselves, and not get into that self-critical mind of, listen, kiddo, you're just a hopeless Dharma practitioner, and you're going to be born in the lowest hell. So, what kind of jerk, idiot, nincompoop you are, What's the definition of nincompoop? Do people even call other people that nowadays, or is that a generational thing? Okay, any comments or questions?
Becomes really apparent to me that this chapter that we're on with laziness, all of this just plays itself out that it's just too much trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got too busy, you're discouraged, you're going to do it tomorrow. I mean, laziness is written all over these. So that's just another in your face sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see it comes down to, I just don't feel like it. Yeah. I mean, that's the real lazy. I just don't feel like it.
It's part of the laziness because we can't see the future. We can't see where the karma is going to ripen. And so if I don't kind of stay with it a lot, it's so easy to just let it go because you don't see the result.
Mm-hmm.
So that's to me where I have to keep really constant the work, not just the immediate effect, but future.
We don't see the long-term result, but the short-term result of the laziness is right there in the next moment. Which is, we just continue. Yeah.
The power of visualization, I was thinking about the POWs who played golf in their mind, in their cells, and when they got out, their handicap was about the same. It's like, there's also the basketball players. One group was told to practice shooting, another group was told to visualize shooting, and they ended up having about the same result. So we know from experience that visualization is really powerful. It's like your brain can't differentiate between what's reality and what's visualized.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, that's good because you can really see the benefit. Why we spend time doing that in some aspects and stop doing other aspects. Other comments or questions?
I started reading Obama's recent book that came out, A Promised Land.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks, just at the beginning, but he talks about what he had to do to kind of get into politics and to build the relationships that gave him influence. And some of it was, going and poker nights and the drinking and just the building the relationships and all that was involved for him to be able to get to the influence, to have a positive influence with a good motivation, but still to see what went into that. It's like, wow, it's just the complexity of what's involved there and the complexity of the karma that's being created.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people who do business tell me that, you have to go out and drink to close a deal, just talking somebody. Yeah, or you have to take them out to an expensive restaurant. That's not so bad, but that you take that off of taxes. But poor people who don't have enough money for food, can't take their food off of taxes. Very often in order to close deals, gain influence, make it in a particular field, there's a certain amount of socializing that you have to do. And it can be quite dangerous because your mind just falls into it. You haven't done it, but you have to, and then you get used to it, and then it's required so you don't stop. Yeah. And when you think about it, and this happens in families too. I mean, so many people, why don't they take the fifth precept? The big thing I hear is, but when I go for family dinners, everybody has a glass of wine. And when I go to parties, people are drinking vodka, and I really want some too. But, they don't say that part of it. But there's a social environment, and we are very hooked by the social environments we're in. And so that's why it's so important to be careful of where we put ourselves, what environments we put ourselves in. Yeah. Because we just We're chameleons. We adapt to the environment and, do what everybody else is doing. Even though when you have teenagers, you tell your kids, don't do something just because your friends are doing it. Don't do peer pressure. But then you do it. And this is the way we are, huh? That doesn't mean it's good. Anything else? Okay, let's dedicate then. And then we'll come back to the verses in the book next week, starting with verse 15. The 15, I extrapolated on 15, so 3 weeks we were doing this stuff.